All right, so if strategists cannot come to any consensus on the direction of the macro market, the economy, or earnings, how are you supposed to invest? Joining us now is Keith Fitz-Gerald, principal at the Fitz-Gerald Group. Keith, welcome back.
Thank you.
What say you? Are you making some bold predictions for next year?
Well, of course we are, but there's a big caveat. Opinions are like belly buttons. Everybody has one. I think the thing that investors need to concentrate on now is, are they playing for the short term or are they playing for the long term? Because if you're playing for tomorrow, a week out, 12 months out, you're 50-50 probability of getting it right with timing, intensity, and even the stock. But if you start looking 3, 5, 10 years out, now you're talking 70, 80, 90% probability that the markets close higher. So you want to go with what's probable, not what's possible. That's the great companies, the best in class names. That's where we're concentrating.
Okay, so where is that?
Well, for example, right now you're seeing tech is being priced like it's going out of business. Two companies in particular, AMD and Intel, are being priced like they're going to vanish from the face of the earth. Yet, at the same time, very coincidentally, we live at a time where most of the data we've ever created in the history of humanity needs chips to run. So I would submit that those companies are great opportunities, perhaps entries like we haven't seen in a decade or more, but you got to be patient. You got to understand that volatility is your traveling companion, not a problem.
Why are you so convinced that the worst may be over for those semiconductor and chip makers?
Well, I'm not convinced the worst is over. You know, selling is absolutely possible. Holiday weeks in particular, we got a glimpse of that yesterday. I personally happen to think that we're going to see a weaker market, generally speaking, into the first half of next year, at which point the Fed is going to have to acknowledge the inevitable that it's been as wrong as the day's been long about transitory labor and rates, and ultimately pivot or even tap on the brakes. So I want to get ahead of that because, historically speaking, prices tend to stabilize 2 to 3 quarters before the economic data does.
You know, I feel like the Fed, and forgive me for this, what is it, metaphor or analogy, I can never figure it out, is like a cheating ref, right? I mean, like the cheating ref can alter the outcome of the game. The Federal Reserve can make its terrible predictions. Last year, they didn't even see interest rates now at more than 1%. That was a year ago. They were below 1%. We're now at 5%. But here's the thing. The Federal Reserve is the ref. They make the rules. They can change the outcome regardless of what their prediction is.
Absolutely valid and super intelligent point, to which I would push back respectfully that if you don't like the game, change the game. Pick the battles that Wall Street has no interest in fighting. When in doubt, zoom out. Look for the CEOs and companies that are still putting numbers up because of longer-term structural changes impacting the world that we live in. Whether the Fed acts today or tomorrow is almost moot if you start looking at the history of how markets work. There are buyers and sellers. Capital wants to grow. As long as that argument is true, growth may slow, but it will never, ever in the history of the world stop.
And finally, Keith, like we said, you're joking about Fed follies and all the rest of it that could happen this year. What do you have to say about where we could be headed?
Well, again, you know, I'm an optimist. I'm going to bet because the sun is coming up tomorrow, not because I think the sunset is going to be permanent. So I'm going to look at the Fed, however jaundiced I think their opinion is or their models are. They're not stupid. They're trying to do the best they can under extremely difficult circumstances. So I'm going to bet and hope that they succeed. I may not like it. I may not be comfortable with it. It might be scary as heck, but that's the way I'm going to play the game.
All right.
Well, you have to know which way the ref is going, and I guess bet accordingly. Keith Fitz-Gerald, have a happy new year. Appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
You too. Thank you. Hi, it's Keith here. Thanks for checking out today's highlight clip. What'd you think? Did I make sense? Is there something you'd like to add? Make sure you leave a comment down below. And of course, click subscribe to keep up right here on YouTube, or sign up for the email newsletter at the link below. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram for my real-time thoughts on markets, analysis, and a whole lot more.